So today we're going to give you a fresh perspective on travel up to Alaska, and it's going to be through the eyes of someone from the lower 48. So we've asked Debbie from the channel From She to Me to join us on the channel today because you guys know we mention her often. She's the MacGyver of sprinter van life. And so they just made a trip, her and her husband, in 2019 to come up here. So she's gonna share everything with you, and then when you're done with this video, make sure you head over to Debbie's channel because we'll give our perspective on travel through Alaska as well. But please stick with this video all the way through. Our real intention is for this to send good signals to YouTube so that more people discover and learn about Debbie's great channel.
There are two kinds of RVers, those who have been to Alaska and those who want to go to Alaska. Because so many viewers were disappointed this last summer because they didn't get to go on this amazing adventure, I got to thinking about the questions that we had before we visited in 2019. And thanks to Drew, who asked me to collaborate with him, I thought, what a great opportunity for you to get two perspectives. One from somebody who lives in Alaska and travels with his young family in a small teardrop trailer, and then one from some senior citizens who live in Southern California and travel in a small camper van. No matter what your mode of transportation, I hope you find this helpful, and we would love to hear your perspective in the comments below, and if you have additional questions, please post those as well. Question number one, how much time did you allocate for your trip, and was it enough time? John and I allocated 3 months for our journey. It gave us pretty much a month in the lower 48, a month in Canada, and a month in Alaska. It may be interesting to note that the distance from Southern California to the Alaskan border that we crossed, which is up near Dawson City on your way to Chicken, is about the same distance as it is from Southern California to Nova Scotia. The total distance we drove was about 10,000 miles, and our goal every day that was a driving day was not to drive more than 250 miles. And that would give us time to stop and see museums and heritage sites and things like that along the way. It will also help when you come across construction areas where they've stopped traffic and they're always working on the roads up in the north in the summertime. There are plenty of gas stations now, and the road is mostly paved. I say mostly because I'm not sure if I consider chip seal to be paved. Sometimes I think we get in our head this end goal, which is Alaska, but that would be shortchanging Canada because there is so much to see and do in Canada. And we did go via Banff and Jasper, and we could have spent much more time there. So don't shortchange Canada in your plans. Number two, what do you wish you had known before you left on the trip? And did you have any fears or concerns prior to leaving? I think we often overthink these long trips like this. I think the only thing that I wish I had known was how pathetic the cell service would be for us when we were in Canada. And I think next time I'll look into getting a SIM card. And related to cell phone coverage, probably the only concern was being out of cell coverage if there was some kind of a medical emergency. And so we purchased a personal location device, a PLD as they're called, and that kind of gave us some peace of mind to know that we could reach help if we needed to and we didn't have service. Question number three. Did you feel that you were well equipped? Did you do anything special to your rig to prepare for this trip? Thanks to the help that I got from many of my viewers who helped us be prepared, we did focus a lot on our vehicle. And we had something called a ride improvement package done so that the suspension would be a little bit more forgiving for those rough roads. It also gives the vehicle a little bit of a lift, a 3.5-inch lift in the back and 2.5 inches in the front. We also ordered a special jack that the company that did our ride improvement package is called Agile Off-Road in San Diego. And they make they have a beefier jack and some kind of a post that goes underneath the vehicle so you have a little bit more security when if you do have to jack up your car and change a tire. I think we were probably a little over-prepared on the conditions, the weather, mosquitoes. You probably don't need any special mosquito equipment, except I would recommend some kind of a mosquito netting for your head. But normally we would just escape the mosquitoes and go in the van, which also meant that I had to tape up all those screens around our van to make sure those little buggers can get through the smallest holes. So I had to tape up a few of the screens.
Here we are, Dawson City. What time is it?
I don't know, I'm tired. It's 9:30.
9:30, and what's that? It's the frickin' sun!
Now, as you travel north, of course, in the summertime, you're going to have to deal with those really, really long, forever days. And so you're going to definitely want blackout curtains. I made my own blackout curtains. They're actually insulated curtains. They protect, they keep the heat out, and they keep the cold out, and they kept the light out. And I did a video on that if you're interested. I'm sure Drew or I will figure out how to put a link to that video. I think most of us take too much clothing on these long trips. Of course, you don't know what kind of weather conditions you're going to run into, and in Alaska, you can have everything from freezing temperatures to 100 degrees, which we experienced in Talkeetna. So you want to have a variety of clothing, but remember, there's stores there, and I would say underpack, if anything, so that you can give yourself an opportunity to purchase some of those mementos that you're going to want along the way. As far as rain is concerned, yes, there's a fair amount of rain, but it's not like it rains, it doesn't usually rain hard all day long. It might be misty and a little bit of, the rain kind of comes and goes. So just waterproof boots is certainly plenty. I did take some rubber boots, but I didn't find that I wore them that much. Just make sure whatever boots you take are waterproof. And a light rain jacket. It doesn't have to be, head to toe. I did take a rain jacket with top and bottoms, but a proper raincoat with a hood is pretty much all you'll need. Question number 4, did you caravan? And if you did, would you do it again? I've always thought that caravanning would be a little tough because we don't plan a lot and we don't necessarily know where we're going from day to day or hour to hour. But it would be interesting to know if that hurt you or helped you. Was it harder to find reservations? Did you have to make more reservations because of it? And if you enjoy that kind of experience. Number 5 is, did you make reservations or did you just kind of play it by ear as you went along? Now, we are not, as I said, planners. We only made a couple of reservations, and there are really only a couple that you absolutely need to make. One is for Denali. And Denali reservations cannot be made soon enough. I probably waited a few weeks too long, so the only option was the one campground that's down at the beginning of the park. But if you want a reservation for one of the other campgrounds that's inside, you're going to have to make those super early, and then it's probably a hit or miss thing. But you don't necessarily have to make the bus trips that go into the park. You don't necessarily have to make those too far in advance. We made a reservation for 3 nights at our campsite. The day we got there, we went up and made the reservation for the bus tour that we were interested in. And that was plenty of time to get on one of those tours. The only thing that's really essential to get a reservation is some of the ferries. If you're going to do one of the ferries, that is a multi-day experience. So we had reservations from Haines to Skagway and then Skagway to Prince Rupert. That's, I think, a 2 or 3 night, and we wanted to book a berth. So especially if you want a berth, you're going to need to book that well in advance. If any of you did take some of those longer ferries, the overnight ferries, did you get a berth and did you sleep on the deck? I'd be interested to know your experience of sleeping on the deck, or would you prefer to have a berth? Number 6, did you take kayaks or bikes? And I'm interested to hear what Drew has to say about this, because my opinion is don't take them. If you really want to ride a bike or to do kayaking, rent them when you're there. We wanted to be as short as we could because it's a little bit cheaper on the ferries if you're under 20 feet, and so without the bikes we're under 20 feet. Number 7, where do you camp? And what are the rules about dispersed camping in Canada? I have no idea what the dispersed rules are in Canada. I tried to find out about those. So for those of you Canadians, please share that with us. Is it discouraged? Is it allowed? I would love to know. I've seen Slim Potato Head, and he goes off and does dispersed camping in Canada, but I never felt like it was something that I could do there. So I'd love to know from all of you guys more about that. Now, most of our camping was done in campgrounds, and the campgrounds in Canada are awesome, especially up in the Yukon where they're like $12, 12 Canadian dollars, so super cheap. And then in Alaska, though, that's where I felt free to disperse camp just the way we do in the West out in the lower 48. So we would stop along the sides of some roads, some dirt roads, some paved roads. You can kind of see where people are going to spend the night. You know, they start to pull over and you get a lineup of vehicles. But also along some of these, inlets, you'd see places where you could pull out. Number 8, what were your favorite excursions and what would you recommend people not miss? Well, for me, that's really easy. I think our favorite excursion was driving to Kennecott. And that road to Kennecott is really kind of rough, and there's a kind of a scary bridge that you have to go across. And it's a very long dirt road, but well worth it. And we so enjoyed Kennecott. We did hike out to the glacier, which we enjoyed. We did kind of a behind-the-scenes tour of the town. We spent several nights there. You know, in all these towns, there are all kinds of boat excursions, and we noticed in particular in Seward that there were just boats constantly going by where we were camping on the beach. And we actually opted not to do any of those things. They're very pricey, and it just seemed a little bit too touristy for us. And we also figured that because we had so many different ferry rides that we were doing, or we were hoping to do, that we would get a lot of that same kind of, watching wildlife and that sort of thing on the ferries. And that actually turned out to be mostly true. But the other thing that we did enjoy was the flight out to a glacier. So in Talkeetna, we took one of the planes that lands on the glacier. It's a very short stay, and there's really not a whole lot to it. Moreover, there were all kinds of fires everywhere, so the air quality was pretty bad. You could almost not see Denali. That was really fun, very pricey, but worthwhile if if this is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Number 9, for those of you who've already been to Alaska, did you come back loving or hating your rig? And if so, why? And if you didn't like the rig, what would you rather have traveled to Alaska in? So if you have any suggestions on that, I'd love to hear what they are. We came back loving our rig and realizing that it was absolutely perfect for us. The fact that it was short, it was nimble, we could go almost anywhere we wanted, really turned out to be fabulous. Number 10 is, what were your favorite hikes? And I'm really hoping Drew can make some recommendations on hikes up in his area. I would love to hear from those of you who did hikes up there, which ones you enjoyed and what would you recommend? We really enjoyed a hike that we took out of Whittier. So you go under the tunnel, and then on the Whittier side, we did a hike up to the top of the pass, but we really enjoyed the hike to the top and then got buzzed by helicopters. I'm not sure what they were doing, but that was just a beautiful view, and we really enjoyed that. My last question is whether those of you who have been before, did you have any damage to your windshield? Did you have to change a tire? Did your car break down? Stuff like that. Now we did get a rock in our windshield, so we had it filled in Anchorage, but then on the way back, almost in the exact same spot, within a mile or so of the spot that we had gotten it on the way up, we got it another one. This time it was a little bit worse. So we did have to have our windshield replaced when we got back home. We're now on windshield number 4. As far as vehicle damage, we did not suffer any damage. We did not have to change a tire. We did have special tires put on our vehicle before we left because our rig doesn't actually come with a spare tire. So we had Agile Off-Road in San Diego added a spare tire that is the same as the new KO2 tires that we had put on the van. So thanks again, Drew, for your invitation to collaborate, and I'm hoping all of your people will come over to my channel to see how you responded to similar questions.